the big dream of everybody in the Bitcoin industry, everybody in crypto has always been fix the money, fix the world.
Right.
The profound idea is rebuild the entire world's monetary order on digital technology. So you start with this idea of digital assets, which offer the promise of, speed of light between 8 billion computers and 8 billion computers 1 million times an hour in self-custody on an Android phone, 24/7, 365 everywhere, right? That's the digital asset vision, and that applies to digital tokens, digital securities, digital commodities, digital currencies, right? That's what holds the entire digital industry together. And then the next piece of that is building a digital capital structure on top of a digital commodity. That's Bitcoin as store of value. And once you get digital capital, you start thinking the third idea is digital credit. What if I strip 90% of the risk and 90% of the vol off the digital capital by over-collateralizing it 10 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
What if you issue $1 of digital credit for every $10 of digital capital every year, right? That is the perfect product. I submit to you, I used to think the iPhone was the perfect product, but the iPhone, you got to actually be able to hold it and look at it, and you got to be awake, or maybe be able to hear, or be able to see. But, a bank account that pays you 8% or 7%, you could be deaf, dumb, blind, in a coma, unborn child. You still want.
I don't hear you.
What do you think of those two clips?
I think we have been able to watch Saylor's transition in real time, going from Bitcoin centric to MicroStrategy centric, and from Bitcoin as hope to let's build a digital economy with digital credit. I mean, it's like he's at the end of the day, right? He's got the Bitcoin, and now he wants to build a business around it. And he's going to build products and services, and you can't blame him for that. I mean, he's gonna do what he needs to do to make MicroStrategy the future of finance.
So, do you think he's refining Bitcoin for the traditional markets in the way Rockefeller or refined oil to you had propane, and then you had oil, and then you refined it even further to have gas?
No, I think he told you exactly what he's thinking. He wants to build the killer app. He wants to build products and services that is going to make his business incredibly profitable and large, and make him one of the richest people in the world. And I think he believes this. He's passionate about it. I don't maybe fall as much down the conspiracy rabbit hole as other people do about his having overall bad intentions from the beginning, but it's just he's going to build out what he thinks is going to make his business very successful.
Right. Let's say his intentions are awesome. I mean, he's been great for Bitcoin. Let's say, do you think he's recreating money in the way that there was private money in the 1800s, and this money, this is better money?
He says he is, right?
At the same time, or is he just offering better credit and yield?
The other thing I think I felt when I heard him say that was like, he's disclosing. He's probably had these conversations with JP Morgan and other big banks.
They definitely are.
And he's telling the world, like, this is what can be done. So by telling that story publicly and openly, like, he's sort of forcing all the big banks and Wall Street to move in that direction, because he's saying he's going to do it with or without them. So it's kind of like, by selling the world on the idea and open sourcing it, he's forcing the embedded players in the largest financial system in the world to have to move to play chess. He's forcing the game, so to speak, right? And
they play chess.
I mean,
back.
That's is that a good thing or a bad thing for?
What about volatility?
And also, I think people have to parse out, like, what is good for the government and big business may not necessarily be good for you. right? And I think this is where Bitcoiners stumble or have issue with Saylor,
I
right?
think-
Because
I think we should play a clip right now.
all right, go ahead.
Can we play the Jeff Booth clip? I just recorded this with Jeff Booth, and I think this is the question or the issue of the year. This is not financial advice. It's not about whether Michael. Yeah, can we just play the clip?
I'll give you a framework that two different starting points would give you drastically different outcomes. If you saw, and Michael Saylor's a friend, right? And I think he's been really good for Bitcoin. And I categorically disagree with him on this issue that I'm going to say, and how he views the world and how I view the world, right? Through this lens. If you thought Bitcoin was an asset, and your view it was the best asset of all time, and it couldn't be taken, then you'd have to ask, what is an asset? An asset has always underlied money because we couldn't trust money. We could never store our time in money because money was always broken. So we always had to find assets to hold to store our value because money was broken. And if you held more assets, you did better than everybody else because money was more broken and they didn't have the asset. And if you saw Bitcoin as an asset, then it would make perfect sense to try to control all the Bitcoin, get it all, and then leverage on top of that and all of the broken money, and then create instruments from that. And all you would have done with the entire world structure is create new kings, right? Same zero-sum game that we've always lived in with different rulers. But from that system, if it looked like that, Bitcoin would get centralized and it would fail because it would get centralized. If you saw now, so one framework, Bitcoin is an asset within a control system. A different framework, a different starting point, is it's a protocol coming in layers, adding more functionality like the internet, bounded by energy. So it's an open, decentralized, secure protocol bounded by energy. That's the first layer. The asset that they think is an asset is a protocol. And different layers are building to provide more functionality, like privacy, like communications in Noster in transfer of value and Lightning and Arc and Spark and everything else. And that protocol layer is emerging where the protocol is repricing everything. And now you can store your money in money. So those two scenarios produce radically different opportunities. One, if you're thinking of it as a protocol, you're building value in the layers of the protocol, and you're building society in a world that's never existed, where prices constantly fall, and we contribute in the first global free market to each other through that vehicle. If you're if you're pricing in the asset only, then you're contributing to the centralization of Bitcoin. There is no these things they cannot coexist long term. It's impossible for them to coexist long term. Why? Because the natural state of the free market is deflation. Because the free market, the value that we create for each other has to come to us. And the other system has to absorb that value into a control system. They're incompatible, completely incompatible in time. So now the question is it a protocol emerging in layers, or is it an asset? And for a time, it could look like both, but over time, we will see it's a protocol. And that means a lot of people, they're taking risks on somebody else's Bitcoin could also get liquidated in time.
You think Bitcoin could fix Jeff's mic? He needs a
I heard him. I mean, he's brilliant. I love Jeff. Well said. And the whole when he was talking there, what reminded me when I was listening to Saylor describe his digital dollar and the high interest on that dollar. All I could be thinking about was all the people that would get that and not own Bitcoin. All the people that would be happy with that and opt into that system as opposed to owning real Bitcoin. And in the same, he's literally telling you, Saylor has said this so many times. If you want to get rich, you want to build wealth, own Bitcoin. You want to have an income, own this credit. And I understand it meets different needs for different people at certain points in their life, but everybody needs to have real Bitcoin. If you don't need it for yourself, then you need it for your kids. You need it for the future Youngelmans, right? And I think this is what really pains some of us Bitcoiners when we see the financialization of Bitcoin, and we see, as much as we love Saylor, love what he's done for Bitcoin, and the way he talked about Bitcoin has been so brilliant. I mean, like the What is Money 16 series with Saylor that Breedlove did just changed me forever, right? Like, so good. But then to see this, you're realizing that he's building products and services that are going to pull people away from owning the truth, to owning the thing that will last forever, that'll be here, the bedrock under New York, like he talks about. The thing that's so important that everybody should have at least some. Like, don't get caught up in the financialization Wall Street 2.0 that he's building until you have your Bitcoin, right? Get that in place, get it in self-custody, because that's the most important thing you can do.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. The Genius Act and stablecoins taking center stage. Is there anything else we could say about stablecoins? Well, do you think that this is a bridge to Bitcoin and not a forever walled garden that they're sort of erecting?
Sure. I mean, I can see it as a bridge, especially for parts of the world where they don't have a functioning financial system, where their currency is inflating at 45, 50% a year, a month, or whatever. These people need a stable coin. They need to have a checking account in their wallet before they can have savings, before they can invest in Bitcoin. So in that regard, I can see it as a stepping stone into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just like what I described with Saylor, don't miss the forest through the trees, right? Like there is one real asset. There's one real significant change in the world, and it is Bitcoin. Everything else is a derivative of that. And if you start chasing all those shiny objects, you're going to miss the most important thing, the one true thing, the one asset without an issuer, the most pristine collateral on the planet, on and on and on. You're going to miss that thing that will build wealth for your family in perpetuity, because you're buying securities, you're buying non-fungible tokens, you're buying you're buying these JPEGs, you're buying real world assets, whatever they may be, because it's on a blockchain and it's so cool and new, right? It's not going to change your life, right? The cat video that became Netflix didn't really change your life, and maybe gave you some entertainment and a cheaper thing to interact with, but it didn't change your life.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Get the real thing. Take self-custody. Buy that at Bitcoin, Byte Federal ATMs. If you're enjoying the show, please hit like and subscribe. What do you think about Bukele here and the IMF?
Let me ask you that question.
What do I think of Bukele?
You were on this early saying that you didn't think that these were real purchases, right? And
yeah,
it's looking more and more like it's not. So how do you feel about this? Bukele's another one of those that like really woke the world up to Bitcoin and did some amazing things and got everybody very excited. I think he's still doing a lot of amazing things, especially for his country and his people. I mean, as a leader of his country, it seems like he's achieved a lot for El Salvador. We were all so excited that he was pushing back on the IMF. So like,
it's kind of hard to have like a worldview where you're like, all politicians are bad. And you say, well, there could be no good ones. I mean, how, but you're like, well, I think that there's a system here that doesn't allow you to gain power without being corrupted or so you don't get into the club until you've been captured. And so then if you, so when you kind of say, oh, you carve anyone out of that, you're saying it's like an irrational thought in a way to say, I believe in this construct that there can't be a good politician. And I'm not saying that's kind of how I feel.
I mean, I
especially at a certain level.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about your local politics where I think your vote
Yeah.
might actually be counted and matter. And so I think it's just a lot of what you see about someone, I like that, but then there are these these red flags. Like I remember my friends were really into hardcore like gangster rap, like just and then like they really like Biggie and Tupac, and it's like, how can you in a lot of ways when you do guilty by association, it's like, well, if Biggie's so tough, why is he hanging out with Diddy? And even back then, I think certain things could rub you wrong. That'd be hard to just even you could say like glitches in the Matrix, like Diddy coming out dancing 2 weeks after Biggie dies. Like that's not what friends do. And some people, you point that out, and people say, well, maybe he's MTV Music Awards or so.
Right.
I think things with Bukele aren't always what they seem, probably. Yeah, and you hear these great stories.
Can you run a country and be perfect?
Well,
Can you get to any level of power and do everything right?
How can you be a Bitcoin ethos company and then cut the deals you do with the IMF or work with the Trump regime around prisoners? I think.
Well, this is the Saylor thing too, right? Like there's Bitcoin, and then there's running your business and running your country.
So I think that Bukele's done what's right for El Salvador.
Necessarily always aligned,
right? I think if at your best case scenarios, I think Bukele's been great for El Salvador in the sense that Bitcoin is a great marketing plan. Look at Steak and Shake, right? You could be a struggling fast food restaurant. You latch on to what you see is trending on social media. You try it out. More people come. It generates good buzz. It's aligned incentives. Now they're a Bitcoin company, but I don't think that they intended to become one. And so it's a great thing what's happened. But so look at something like El Salvador. I think by going into a Bitcoin standard, whatever that means, that brings new levels of tourism, investment, real estate development, maybe at an order of magnitude greater than neighboring countries that have better raw real estate, or better raw beaches, or better these things. So it could bring a lot of attention and development.
It has changed. I mean, I've seen on the trips I've made to El Salvador, I've seen dramatic change, right? I mean, they have done amazing things for that country, and Bitcoin was a part of that. Right, wrong, wins, losses that Bukele has had along the way. Again, I come back to I don't know if you can be in a position of that much power with that much responsibility.
So if you look at something, like COVID, and sort of the universal global response, and I don't think that was just organic. I don't think that was emergent.
Right.
And you look at something like that, and you say, "Wow, that just appears." I can't see how that's not coordinated. And so then it's like, oh, here's money. I don't think they coordinate on this issue. So I see something like Bukele and Malay in my cynical mind says those must be outposts for the CIA, the NSA. They're allowed to happen. They're test cases. So you can have test cases that are both good and bad for humanity, that maybe not great people coordinate and try to see what happens. And I don't think that there's been real Bitcoin ethos in El Salvador around, they stopped with the legal tender. They rolled that back.
But
they stopped buying.
I understand what you're saying.
A lot of even just rolling it out as legal tender is forced. That's coercion. That's not a very emergent way to bring Bitcoin to the country.
I do understand what you're saying, but at the same time,
it's custodial
by making it a Bitcoin-friendly country, many people have moved there, had influence at the grassroots level. Bitcoin Beach is a great example, right? And
some people have,
and they've taught a whole new generation about a new future that could be built with Bitcoin. Even though Bukele may have had to make compromises with the IMF, and maybe he couldn't fully implement the Bitcoin dream that he proposed early on,
You can't
you're
have
still going to
can't have a gun.
You're still
there.
having good influence.
You can't have a gun there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use marijuana there.
Mm-hmm.
So just in terms of freedom and what is freedom and what should be free could be debate. It's on the spectrum. The commercial about the prisoner scared the living shit out of me. Like, I mean, I get there's two sides to every story,
Right.
and you try to balance them both, and I try to balance both in my mind, and can hold two contradictory thoughts. Like,
I guess I'm not of the. I think when I look at that,
and I just don't know if we're being co-opted in this story over the longer term, because you can have hope, you can see progress, and then things can be turned off with a light switch.
Yes.
And
we
the
don't
way
know.
I think,
we don't know.
I'm having a conversation with Aaron Day come out early next year about, the Trump administration has probably pulled forward 10 times what a Harris Biden administration could have done in terms of
exactly
crypto surveillance.
Yeah.
Right. So things aren't always what they seem, and over a longer arc could be very regretful.
Yes. But at the same time, and this is the way the world works, right? This is the way the universe works. As if that could all be true, and probably most of it is, but simultaneously you're infecting. The mind virus of Bitcoin is infecting people around the globe, and especially younger kids, with a vision of the future that's completely different that they could not have imagined. And so, yeah, you might be losing on one battlefront and winning on another simultaneously. But everything is progressing forward. And if, Jeff Booth is right, and we have an unstoppable protocol, then we need that mind virus to spread. And we need to incite builders to build freedom tech because they believe in that vision. So even though your leader may be trying to oppress that vision, if the message is there and the belief is there that that's a potential, humanity will move forward. And that's why I think, like,
do you see El Salvador as a place you would move if you had to flee America?
No. I don't. I mean, that's just my personal thing, though. Like,
does that not say a lot? Does that not say a lot about the leader?
That has nothing to do with Bitcoin.
But if the well, I think it does.
For me, it doesn't.
I think it does.
For me, it doesn't.
I think it does.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna.
I think if it was a more Bitcoin-esque country, you would feel more like, well, yeah, I definitely would go there. That seems like, if I couldn't be here, wow, that seems like the place to be. I can't think of a reason not to go, but I could think of a lot of reasons where I'm like, well, maybe things aren't the way they seem, or it won't always be the way they seem. That doesn't mean people aren't fighting for things.
I look at it totally differently. This is just more of a personal thing. Like, I don't like the environment I live in is much more important to me than a lot of things. And I think
it's not my the Second Amendment. I think carries a lot of weight in this.
Just like there's so many people that love Dubai or love Singapore, and fall in love with the safety and the security that comes from that kind of surveillance and oppressive regime. I guess that's not the right word, but I mean, like, Dubai, the UAE is not like. I mean, it feels totally free because it's so safe. Like, you could leave your laptop and you could leave your car unlocked and no one's going to steal anything from it. But it's because it's surveilled and because the repercussions of doing something
free and safe is a perspective.
Yes,
this is something I talked about with a fraud.
Right.
And it's very like, you feel. I wouldn't feel free in Dubai because that doesn't I get what you're saying. Like, I feel very safe and here, but the safe is I feel safe as a community. Wow, this looks like everyone looks safe, but I don't know if I'm safe here because they could nab me.
Right. Freedom comes with radical acceptance of risk. Even true freedom comes with acceptance of risk.
Even in the United States, when I go through security at any border,
Yeah.
and they take your ID,
Yeah.
I feel less safe in that moment. Like they just stripped me of my documentation.
Yeah.
They have more power and more control in this moment.
Right.
And that's going through or coming, either way on the border. And it's like when you go into a different country, you give up as a citizen of another country, you're labeled, you have
Right.
less rights. And I think certain countries portray themselves as less welcoming or
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Like, would you feel more safe in El Salvador or Dubai?
It's hard to say.
And what are some?
I mean, if I had to choose one or the other,
and
I'd
then
probably
throw
go
in
to El
Switzerland.
Salvador.
Throw in like
I would
Switzerland.
definitely go to El Salvador over Dubai.
Okay, now throw in Switzerland.
Probably go to Switzerland.
Right. And I'm sure there's,
But
there's more.
I mean, but I don't know. That'd be a hard one for me because I like.
And
I'd
I
probably go to
think
Switzerland.
I think there's also different threat factors, like maybe even like the Dominican. Maybe there's more crime on the street, but maybe you could disappear more easily.
Yeah, but that's a
just-
whole like that. I don't know, man.
You know,
Like you just like. That's
I mean,
like
McAfee.
Yeah. Look how that worked out really well.
I'm
for
revisiting
him.
Snowden, right? You mentioned before the show,
Yeah.
like so. There's a video of McAfee who's like, Snowden is a CIA psyop, guys. He was a contractor for the CIA or the NSA. He leaves America, he goes to Hong Kong, and then he's trying to get to Ecuador,
Right.
for really no good reason.
Right.
Because I don't think that really worked out for Assange, but
Yeah.
but to get to Ecuador, he's like, I travel a lot, and I would not go through Russia.
Right.
It's just not a good route. And then he gets to Russia and he can't leave. And I don't know what. Now, apparently, I was grokking it. Like, he's a free man in Russia. Like, I don't buy any of this.
There's, I mean,
And the
yeah,
girl
sure.
that he was with at the time he did all this, she is now in Russia.
Mhm.
And she comes and goes. Like, I don't buy any of it.
Yeah.
I don't buy a lot of these. Yeah, they don't pass the sniff test.
No, of course not.
Snowden just doesn't get to zoom into conferences and say his piece.
No, he does.
No, he doesn't. Like
He gets to say whatever he wants to say,
then it's either a Russian op or a US op
or both.
or both. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Where would you go if you had to leave America? Would you go to Russia for safety?
Well, I mean, first of all, like the practical implications of leaving America.
Let's say America was like as a Bitcoin, like it's not safe for Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
And you're trying to flee as a Bitcoiner. Like, do you go where they're like, come, tell us you're a Bitcoiner, document it as an entrance fee.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or do you go
I
somewhere
don't
where
know.
it's like, hey, why don't you just go somewhere where
At this point in
has nothing to
time,
do with being a Bitcoiner?
maybe Africa.
All right, we'll get to Africa in a second. All right, let's move. Let's go. Let's go with Africa.
Yeah.
Africa's Bitcoin moment. I don't get any of this.
Really?
Okay, no, I don't.
It's totally
no.
ground up, grassroots.
Yeah, I don't know how meaningful this is. That's what I mean by this. I just don't. I'm being
It's
honest.
meaningful for them. Does it need
Okay,
to
I
be
don't-
meaningful for you? It doesn't need to be meaningful for you.
No,
That's
well,
the
I mean
beauty
this
of-
in the way of, hey, what's going on in El Salvador? Is it meaningful for me? But I'm interested, and I think it is.
Oh, I think what's
meaningful
happening in
or
Africa
interesting.
is so.
So why? What is so
What is
interesting?
Okay, so you have basically the people adopting Bitcoin and using it as money, regardless, and prior to the state, the different parts of Africa approving the usage. They just literally grassroots said, "Hey, we're already operating our own cash economy within our own banking system, and we can now do this digitally with our phones over Bitcoin." They're adopting Lightning, they're adopting Sats. It's becoming a currency for the people, and the people are jumping into the future without permission from the state or the banks. It's literally just the opposite of what
So-
you see happening in the West.
I'm gonna go back to my conversation with Aaron Day, which hasn't come out yet. But he made a point to me. growing up, you'd hear things like you should finish eating whatever's on your plate. There are kids in China starving.
Mhm.
And you think about China now, the message there, I think, is a greater message of it's destitute there, all peasants.
Mhm.
Fast forward to 2025, 50 of the top 60 technology companies in the world are in China.
Mhm.
And maybe what we were hearing in the 80s and 90s wasn't the full story or the truth. It was just what
Mhm.
ABC, CBS, and
Sure.
so either there's been tremendous progress, right? From there's like no progress, there's no technology there, they're all poor and they're starving, to huge cities now and
Mhm.
big AI companies and technology companies, and or there was progress all along.
Well, if you think
But
back,
in
I mean,
Africa,
China,
we-
if you think back to China, right? When we were laying fiber and we were worried about fiber optics, and we were getting digital, I mean, we were
Broadband.
getting DSL lines
Sure,
like
they were
brought
doing
to our
5G
neighborhood.
and-
They jumped straight to
So,
mobile.
but my point is, right, so they did a lot of jumping and
Yes, and
development.
Africa's
Are we
doing that.
going to see
Africa's doing that
on
the
payment
Bitcoin
networks? Is this
system,
going to result
on the Bitcoin
in
network.
material progress of Africa? Even not all of Africa, maybe, but like pockets
I mean,
of
dude,
Africa.
think about it. Like, if you're using Bitcoin as money, think about what Jeff Booth said. Now your money is also your savings vehicle
Sure.
and growing.
On what scale is this going to impact
It-
African society? Is this going to?
That's huge. That's huge.
Well, I'm trying to learn.
Right? Like, so
It's-
if you were just doing that on the African, what is the franc, or what the French currency that they used in Africa, I forget what it's called. If you were just doing that and it's inflating away on a daily basis, you're never going to get ahead.
I'll give you a for example. So in college, in grad school, we were talking about microfinance a lot and what it was going to do for the unbanked and people who couldn't act. And I don't think it delivered the results
Where?
anywhere.
Okay.
That are still being pointed to, at least in sort of
Right.
notable
Right.
news sources.
So that microfinance still had to be backed by
traditional I
finance.
get that, right.
Right. And this is just exactly what's so cool about what's happening in Africa. They're not relying on traditional finance for permission or rails
Are we going to wake
to
up
move
in
forward.
8 to 10
They've
years
just
and
went.
see a drastic change in African
I
society
think
around
you
like
will.
buildings and infrastructure,
They have
airports,
an
government?
incredibly young population. I forget, some huge percent of their population is like 19 or
Do you think-
younger. So they have a giant uprising and growth in their population. They have a new digital
Right.
economy that's built on
Are we
banking
gonna see
themselves
then,
through their mobile wallets with sats. They're going to be building infrastructure for themselves. It's literally,
Does this connect
I think,
Africa
like the
with
coolest thing happening on the planet.
Right? Is this going to lead to an influx or an exponential growth in African entrepreneurship intertwined with the rest of the world? More importing, exporting products, services.
I'm not even thinking about it in that level. I'm thinking it purely from the perspective of, if you take somebody, anybody with a passion, and you endow them with some Bitcoin when they're young, and now they're living on a money that's growing while the rest of the infrastructure around them is inflating away, they're going to create wealth, and then they're going to have the ability to innovate and bring good things to people around them. When you have abundance, sure, some people are going to be greedy and just want to rape and pillage, but others are going to want to share that abundance with the people around them, in their community, in their family. So endowing as many people as possible with hard money that grows is going to lead to good things. This is why we had the golden age. This is why we got beautiful art and beautiful structures when we had hard money, right? Compared to the garbage we consume and build today. So yeah, I think we have an enormous amount of adoption on a Bitcoin standard operating on sats in Africa, and that will lead to massive progress within the country.
So when the bright
You
orange
fix the
future,
currency, you fix the world.
I don't think everyone's going to get the bright orange future at the same time. It will
No,
be
of
interesting
course
to see
not.
which
Yeah.
continents get there first.
Yeah.
Maybe Africa would get there first. It'd be awesome. It is a bit of a race. I want to be on the continent that gets there first.
Yeah, dude.
I
You
want
start picking up your
My
African
parents went to
accent, buddy.
Africa. I gotta go. It's one of the places. I'm gonna go right now. I'm like,
Let's do it.
Let's not even do the rest of the show. No, if you're enjoying the show, hit like and subscribe. This is a serious topic, I guess. The Samurai Wallet census.
Yeah, we ended the year on the biggest story of the year.
Well, we got a few more stories, I guess, but this is last week, we did the telethon or the streamathon. They're up to about 11,000 signatures on the petition. I think Keone's on his 4th or 5th night in jail. I don't think Bill is reported yet. I think he goes to a Portugal prison. I think he's an American citizen. I'm not sure. How worried should we be about this going into 2026? Do you think this story is going to get lost?
I hope not. To me, everybody wants to talk about money transmission and what they pled to, but the real lesson here is privacy. The real thing that the Southern District of New York went after was privacy, and that they don't want to have transactions that are private. The Genesis Act, the Clarity Act, there's a bunch of language in there about how to monitor the blockchains more, how to oversee all these transactions, right? So this is all about eliminating privacy. So should we be worried about this? I don't know if we should worry, but I do think that, like what Jeff was saying, Jeff is so smart. He hit so many good things in that one little clip. Building the tools for the future so that there's different layers on top of the Bitcoin protocol that are also decentralized, that are also uncensorable, so the Bitcoin can become freedom tech. Like, in order for Bitcoin to be the protocol that it is today, to be as resilient as it is today, it had to live on a system that is pseudonymous. It had to be there. So privacy tech, freedom tech needs to be built on these other layers. And so I think it's a battle that will continue. I don't think this fight is maybe fight's not the right word. I don't think the evolution of Bitcoin is over. These kind of struggles will continue between people that want to preserve their sovereignty. And that doesn't, and I think people need to realize, right? Like, I can hear people yelling at me right now, but just because you want privacy and you want sovereignty doesn't mean you're doing illegal things. And that's not a defense of criminal activity, right? I think we should fight crime. I think crime fighters should be pursuing it as hard as they can. In fact, we're all online every day seeing horrible crimes get committed that go uninvestigated or investigated poorly, or we witness that all the time. But so all for fighting crime, all for making the world a safe and secure place. And we need to build tools that allow us to do that in a private fashion so that good people can preserve their humanity.
Yeah. Trump said, "I will defend your right to self-custody," during his keynote speech at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville in 2024. I do think he was I don't think he's a Bitcoiner, but he was definitely pandering to the crowd. I think he knew some tropes.
But you can have
fire Gensley.
You can have self-custody and not have privacy.
Well, yes, you can, but that's not really anything of value.
Right.
And so he promised to defend the right to self-custody. Trump made a promise, one that he still has the opportunity to keep. So without financial privacy, self-custody is dramatically weakened, as seen by the growing wave of physical attacks on Bitcoiners in recent years. The liberty previously enjoyed by software developers to build self-custodial Bitcoin tools like Samurai Wallet is now on trial. So the chilling effect. The U.S. government has, for the most part, learned not to attack an already hardened legal precedent like freedom of expression. However, by going after the developers and maintainers of Samurai Wallet directly, the DOJ had a net negative effect on financial privacy in the United States and it spread a chilling effect among Bitcoin software developers. Immediately following the arrest of Rodriguez and Hill, Phoenix Wallet, arguably the best self-custodial Lightning wallet in the industry, exited the U.S. app stores. A decision made to protect their business from a U.S. government that appeared hostile to Bitcoin self-custody software. As of April 2025, though, Phoenix is once more available in the U.S. Wasabi Wallet, another financial privacy software company, stopped offering its non-custodial mixing services to the public, and wallets like Blink from El Salvador geo-fenced American users from their app entirely. So if Trump is really going to defend the right to self-custody and stop the eventual deployment of a central bank digital currency, which I don't believe he's going to do that in the United States, or stop it, he will have to address the need for financial privacy. And he's got to set these guys free.
Yeah. So again, self-custody and privacy are not at all correlated. And I think that, oh shit, I forgot.
Well, without privacy, then they're going to make you declare your self-custodial holdings. They're going to tax them differently. They're going to blacklist address. I mean, we can see where the slippery slope goes. So while you're trying to catch your thought there, I think we have to keep up the noise and the pressure. I believe that, probably the next round of media will be from Keone's
No, I remember
wife,
what I wanted to say.
Lorna.
Right? I watched a recent conversation. I forget Ray Dalio was talking to. He was talking to somebody, and he was talking about how central banks will never hold Bitcoin because it's not private. Right? The central bank wants private transactions.
For themselves, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Bank of International Settlements wants private transactions. We discovered through Doge that a lot of the government had and wanted private transactions. Some of those things were for good purposes and some of those things were for bad. And I think when we talk about privacy, we have to frame it under this, idea that we all want the same things, regardless of whether you're a central bank or you're, the central bank of Cedric. Like we're all should be due the same rights and the same capabilities. And if you're up to no good, you should expect to be pursued. And if you're using privacy tools and you're, sovereign, and you're doing things good and you're providing value to humanity, then you shouldn't be looked at as a criminal, right? So it's this is the battle, this is the education, this is the space I think we need to get to with privacy, and I think that's going to be a battle for a while. That's going to be something that we are constantly
this is the
struggling
they fight you phase. I don't mean literally right now that this is the wall coming at us, but this is the fight. I mean, around privacy, I think, and surveillance.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Number go up. So has this been a reality check for Bitcoiners? Why was price expectations completely misaligned in 2025, it seems? Were expectations too high? How did you navigate this year personally?
Yeah, so I mean, this year was ended with a fizzle, right? Like I think and there's been a lot of analysis I've watched over the last couple of weeks as to why and what's coming, et cetera, et cetera. The way I look at this is that I believe in the long-term value of Bitcoin, and that whenever price doesn't go as high as I expect, it's more opportunity to accumulate. You never have as much Bitcoin as you want. So Bitcoin under 90K, Bitcoin at 70K, Bitcoin at 60, 50, 40 is a massive opportunity, because at the end of the day, the acquisition of Bitcoin will far outpace new supply. And adoption is going to outpace new supply. It's going to outpace sellers, right? I think earlier in the year, we talked about the Bitcoin's IPO moment. And I think at that point in time, I was kind of like, poo-pooing the idea.
I love it.
And it's made more and more sense to me now over the years, regardless of how these whales got into or rationalized the selling of their Bitcoin, whatever their mindset was. We have to realize that those coins are now moving and dispersed into more hands and more people that are less likely to sell. Another batch of long-term hodlers. And if you don't have,
I also don't think selling's
the
the right
amount
word.
of coin that you have that you want yet,
Now's your chance.
now's your chance. This is a huge opportunity for anybody who understands Bitcoin's long-term value proposition.
I don't think they were selling their Bitcoin. They were trading it for things they wanted or needed, that they waited for, that they worked for, that they fought for with their family and their loved ones who didn't believe them, and probably made promises along the lines of, you said this thing when it hits blah, blah, blah.
If you go
we
from
would get
0
the
to
boat.
$1 billion, you're gonna
And even I think,
think about things a little differently.
Yeah, I'm not an OG. I'm not in this group, right? But if you're in that group, and I think in some ways, things that you're selling or trading for are liquidity, the ability to do the things that you're trying to do, and there's a way to kind of go about that at probably a certain level that I'm not in tune with or aware of, but I'm sure they're going through those steps, and it's a natural order of things. But to your point, it's moving to stronger hands. Those were incredibly strong hands. I don't think they're doing weak things. I think they're probably acting rationally for their situation in ways we can't imagine because we're not in their shoes.
Imagine if they would have sold 80,000 Bitcoin in 2017.
Right.
It would have crushed it. Right.
And it's not that that's also what people don't realize.
That they can sell.
Why'd they wait? No, maybe they wanted to sell much earlier.
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe they weren't true believers in 2017 and 2021, but they didn't have the liquidity, the options,
or the infrastructure.
Or the infrastructure to do the things they wanted to do.
Exactly.
And it wasn't the amount of fiat they gained. It was the optionality in their own lives.
Also having the clarity around inheritance, how to structure this wealth and a trust. Like there's a lot that goes into that. So
and maybe the next batch
around more to that, but
and that doesn't mean that the next long-term holders will have the same. They might have different and better options for the same things in 15 years, that weren't available to long-term OGs.
No, we absolutely
at this
will.
point in time.
We absolutely will. And just people need to keep coming back to this. Like, I mean, this is. But I know it's hard because I've been there during other past bear markets where it's scary, man.
I've sat through presentations where people made projections, mining companies, mining pools, and every chart around Bitcoin price was up and to the right, just to lesser degrees. Like chart A, this is our optimistic one. Bitcoin's going to be 500,000 at the end of 2025. Here's our medium base case, mid-range of 250, and our bear case is 175.
Right.
And it was just like, how do you not have, for argument's sake, it flat and not another one down and to the right and do your projection? Well, that can't happen. What do you mean? And the more we heard, it was only going to be one way. I mean, it's almost obvious in hindsight, like, it never goes the way we all expect.
No, it never goes the way you expect.
We all expect
you got to take the opportunities you're given, and if we stay here or lower for a period of time, it is a great opportunity. And don't kick yourself because you didn't take advantage of this opportunity when the price is back over 100,000 at some point in the future, because you will. And at every major bear market, I've always come out of it wishing I had bought more.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest Byte Federal ATM and turn your cash to coin. Byte Federal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, bytefederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.